Okay, this happened July 21st, 2017. It was a Friday night. My best friend Emily and I, who wasn't my best friend at the time because we were just getting to know each other, we acknowledge that this experience is what brought us close, and as cliche as it sounds, she's the only one I know I can trust. We had decided to go to a party a few towns away, and before anyone asks, no, we did not do drugs, we didn't drink or accept any drinks from anybody. We were not under the influence of anything. We arrived around 9 and left close to midnight. Our friend Tim had also shown up to this party, and we asked him if he wanted to go to the Denny's back in our town, and we all headed out of the party together. Let me preface this by saying that Tim is an extremely reckless and fast driver, and most sane people I know refuse to drive with this guy because they genuinely fear for their lives. Tim had parked directly in front of the house, and we saw him drive away when Emily and I were still walking to her car, which was about a block away. Keep all this in mind. We get in the car and things already feel off, but I just chalk it up to being a somewhat sketchy area and a neighborhood I've never been in before. We're driving, chatting a bit, and then we get onto the freeway, and we both fall silent. I feel weird, there's a ringing in my ear, my body feels like static, also that something is pressing down on my chest and I'm somewhat paralyzed. I look at Emily, who looks just as terrified as I feel. I keep trying to say something, but all that's coming out is something is wrong. And while I remember Emily responding saying that she felt weird too, Emily said later on that we never spoke a word this entire time. I look out onto the freeway, and at first I'm struck by something that's eerily beautiful. We're winding down the mountain and the city light slowly comes into view, except none of these lights are moving. There's no sign of any life, as cheesy and sci-fi as that sounds. Then I'm struck with the thought of, wait, why the hell are we going down a mountain right now? This is a freeway I've taken thousands of times in my life, but nothing is the same. What should be a flat 30-minute drive home is something much different. At that moment, I noticed something even weirder. There are no cars anywhere on this 8-lane freeway. Not in our direction, not in the opposite direction. While this may be normal in other places of the world, that does not happen in California. As anyone from California, near the LA area more specifically, will tell you, it does not matter what time of day it is, there are always cars on the freeway. It's a Friday night and it looks like we are in some post-apocalyptic world where life doesn't exist. And that's how it is for our entire drive to Denny's. Not a single car, not a single living being except the two of us. While things are starting to look somewhat familiar, we are definitely going in the right direction and are on the freeway we have spent entire hours waiting in traffic on. I see some familiar buildings, but the writing is different or in a different language. The names of exits are in the wrong places, if that makes sense. Like I recognize the names, but they should be in entirely different towns or counties for that matter. We drive straight for 30 minutes, and no matter which freeway we would have taken, we should have had to merge onto different freeways and whatnot, but we didn't. Eventually we make it to Denny's, which is usually packed Friday nights because it's the only place in my small town that's open after all the bars close, and the drunk people like waffles, I guess. We don't see anyone driving, but there are a few cars parked in the parking lot. It's about 12:45 at this point, and this is the most desolate I've ever seen a Denny's in my entire life. Emily and I still haven't said anything to each other, and are just going through the motions, completely in shock. We sit down for about 10 minutes before we start audibly freaking out to each other and trying to explain what had just happened. But things still feel off. It feels like everyone is staring at us. We weren't making a scene or anything. We were just whispering to each other. At the same time, we seem to both remember Tim, who we were supposed to meet there. And right as we both go to bring it up, he walks in. We start to explain to Tim what just happened. We asked him what took him so long, and he seemed confused. He took the same freeway, of which he saw a bunch of cars. He didn't stop anywhere. He left before us and drove straight to Denny's. It made no sense how we were there before him, let alone a good 20 minutes before him. But even he was acting weird, almost robotic. Like everything he had to say was reactionary, but not in the sense that he was shocked or surprised by anything that we were telling him. I was staring out the big window and it's just pitch black outside, and I know from spending one too many nights at this exact Denny's that I should be staring at a bank, but it's not there. The bank isn't there. Emily looks and says, "Yeah, it's not." Then goes back to being silent. About 5 minutes later, when I looked back, it had magically reappeared. Neither of us ate, and we decided to go to my house. We turned on the TV and fell asleep in my living room. I woke up the next morning next to Emily, who wakes up and asks me where I went. "Huh?" I said. She explained to me that she woke up at around 3 a.m., and I was gone. She assumed I'd just gone to my room or something, but I didn't, and I've never sleepwalked in my life. After that, I've tried to figure out what happened. Emily doesn't like to talk about it because it scares her. Everything changed after that. We had hung out with friends the day after who said that we were both acting differently. As for our friends, everyone seemed off, like they weren't real, or they weren't my friends and family. And anytime I've told anyone this, like my mom, that they don't feel like the people I used to know, they never deny it or say that I'm crazy. They all just kind of nod and move on from it. There was a point where Emily and I just sat and cried in my car about a month later because everything just felt wrong and we couldn't explain how or why. And we both still feel that way. Hey Scaredy Cats, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss out on any of the stories. If you have any stories that you'd like for me to read, you can find the links for submissions in the description below.